issues that we want to discuss today. We're going to start with a statement from the leader of the Alliance for Change, Mr. Kemraj Ramjatan, and that will be followed by statements by AFC MP Sherrod Duncan and also AFC MP Mr. Devin Sayers. So having said all of that, slight apologies for the 6-minute delay in the start of our press conference, but we are ready to go. And Mr. Ramjatan, if you could start with your statement. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Kathy. This statement is to do with waste disposal in Region 6, a recurring decimal there. The AFC, after having heard a number of complaints from its Region 6 supporters concerning the dysfunctional waste disposal arrangements there, wishes to urge the PPP government to ensure that the RDC and NDCs within that region identify waste disposal sites. These sites must be identified in accordance with the EPA's standards. From all appearances, businesses and consumers are not reducing the consumption of single-use plastics, and they have both been indisciplined in their garbage disposal methods. This has resulted in ugly, unhealthy, and hazardous dumping locations in the region. The AFC stresses the need to grant an increased subvention to NDCs countrywide, specifically for garbage disposal. Also, there may be the need for consideration of each household paying a minimal fee after consultation with the NDCs of approximately $2,000 per year so that the necessary finances are procured to offset costs for this purpose. The NDC could do it or can contract out to private firms to do so. The education of the citizenry and the need to be sanitary through activities
like my Facebook page, as you guys are at it, subscribe to our
will
channel on
certainly
YouTube
assist in
and
instilling a
give us a
more
retweet on
disciplined
Twitter.
approach by one and all to realize an environmentally friendly space. Thank you.
Thank you, Kemraj, for that statement. And I would like to invite Devin Sayers, MP for Region 10, to give us his update on relief efforts in Region 10.
Thank you so much, Kathy. And good morning, colleagues, members of the media and viewing audience. The Alliance for Change recognizes and is closely monitoring the flood situation all across Guyana. Even at this time, as we muster strength to overcome our losses, regroup, and rebuild, we empathize with those who are severely affected. The Alliance for Change makes it emphatically clear that it is disappointed in the government's handling of this disaster, one of the worst in Guyana's history. Taking note of the displacement of families, death of livestock, drowning of farms, just to name a few, it is clear that the PPP has no structural plan to deliver relief and humanitarian aid. Over the last few months, we have observed the selective distribution of hampers, mainly to political supporters, that being PPP supporters, while others bear the wrath of hunger and discomfort. One of the hardest hit regions in Guyana is the Upper Demerara Berbice, that is still grappling with more than 10 feet high of flood waters, and that being Kokwani, Hururu, Rockstone, and now recovering Morataro, Malali, Rivers View, and Lower Karakara. The residents lack purified water, and they're faced with rationed electricity, limited groceries, failing nutrition, no access to proper sanitary facilities, and could possibly face an outbreak in waterborne diseases. With this being said, the limited resources that the Alliance for Change and its network has, it has delivered relief to Region 3, 4, 5, and 10. This role will continue over the next few weeks as the water begins to recede. So even though some areas we might not have touched as yet, we will be approaching those areas very, very soon. I must inform you, the media and our viewing audience, that through our network, we were able to distribute hampers along with other items that the residents in those areas need. On a weekly basis, every Friday, we will be delivering bread, freshly baked bread to places such as Kokwani, Araima, and Rockstone. Currently, again, with the limited resources that we have and the goodwill of our donors, we will be constructing several water purification hubs so that those residents in those areas can have purified water. These are the efforts of the Alliance for Change, and this is what we will continue to do over the next few weeks. Additionally, the Alliance for Change wants to remind the PPP installed regime that it is a government for the people, for everyone, and must ensure that every Guyanese who is affected by these floods are given the necessary attention that they so need. We also ask these questions on behalf of our Guyanese brothers and sisters. Just a few months ago, the PPP went to Parliament and asked for $10 billion flood relief aid. Where is the $10 billion? Where is the relief strategy? What is the structural plan in ensuring that this money is equally disbursed and also caters for transparency? And also we'd like to know, why is it that we're refusing aid from our sister CARICOM country, Trinidad and Tobago? We ask all of these questions because the people of Guyana wants to know. In addition, we're hoping and we're asking the government to give an account of all donation and monetary aid given to our country, because so it claims they believe in transparency. Well, be transparent and let us know how these aids are being distributed and how the money is being spent. And in closing, as Guyanese, we've always been a resilient people. We are overcomers, and we will overcome this flood disaster that we're faced with. The time is now that we join hands and give support to those who are affected. And even though you're watching out there and believe the little that you have is not enough, for someone out there, especially the children, the single parents, and even those who are not working at this time, it will mean something to them. So whatever you have, just ensure that you give. Contact our Center for Change office there on the railway embankment, Kitty. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Devin. And MP Sherrod Duncan, if we could have your statement. Okay. Thank you, MP Sherrod Duncan. And with that, I'd like to come to our question section. Members of the media, you know the procedure. Please use the raise hand function on the platform, and I will give you time to ask your questions. As normal, please identify yourself and the organization you're representing today. Do we have any questions?
Yes, I have one, please, and it's for Devin Sears. The name is Adam Harris, sorry. Mr. Sears, you spoke of the, can you hear me?
Yes, we're hearing you loud and clear, Adam. Please go ahead.
All right. Yeah, you spoke of the flood waters in Pokwani and those areas in Region 10. You also spoke of selective distribution of relief. Are you in a position to say the extent of relief taken to areas like Pokwani that are still underwater?
Yes, I can. Actually, we have a very good relationship with the NDC up there, and we're constantly getting updates hour by hour on what is happening there. In the initial phases when the flood started, some members, more so some prominent members within the PPP, took relief items in the form of hampers up there. And one of the qualifications to get the hamper is that you had to be a PPP supporter. So we have tangible evidence that show that houses that who were purported to be supporters of APNU plus AFC did not receive, but houses that got their PPPs flag up there receive hampers during that distribution, right? So we have those evidence, and that continues even day like today. It shows that the PPP is looking out for their own, right? But remember, there's a difference now. It's not you're not in opposition. You're not a small group or an individual. You're representing a nation, and that is what we have a problem with. Because while some are benefiting, others are suffering, and that should not be.
Follow-up, please, and perhaps Kemraj or Ms. Cathy Hughes could answer this. When Parliament voted the $10 billion of flood relief, I don't think that the decision was taken for whatever aspect of the relief to be distributed selectively. Now, with this information provided by Mr. Sears, what is the coalition going to take to Parliament? What kind of questions are you going to be asking for the $10 billion?
Kemraj, if you would go ahead. Your mic, Kemraj, if you would turn your mic on. Unmute.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
Yes, this is obviously this very discriminatory behavior on the distribution. As to whether the distribution there going on is as a consequence of the $10 billion, I am not quite certain, and I do not have the evidence that it is indeed coming from that source. Because when I was at Abari, I was told by those citizens there, residents there, that they are now doing what is called a basic needs assessment. And the hampers are coming from another source rather than the 10 billion. That is the hampers that they got. But whatever it is, we are asking for total scrutiny and accountability of all the monies, whether it comes out of that line item that we passed, the 10 billion, or otherwise. Because as you know, Ashni Singh, Finance Minister, has indicated that monies from other areas be wired for purposes of fraud relief and COVID relief, as far as I understand him. So it would appear that it is monies, taxpayers' monies, of course, and appropriations, which went for that emergency that might not come from the $10 billion. But whatever it is, wheresoever it comes from, we would like to see that this money is distributed inclusionarily and not discriminatorily as is being done. And also, we would like a report, and I think the PAC committee should be dealing with this, that the Auditor General does a report as to all the names of all the people that got hampers and got COVID relief and so on, so that we can make a scrutiny and check with the reality on the ground. That's the kind of questions we are going to pursue in Parliament to ensure that scrutiny.
Thank you, Kamraj. Kamraj, see if you could raise your volume or go a little closer. We did hear you, but if there's another question for you to respond to, that would help. And Sean, News Talk Radio, please bring your question.
Good morning, everyone. This question is for a clarification, really, for Mr. Kamraj. Mr. Kamraj, can you clarify for me your statement? Is it that you're saying that the NDC should be given increased subvention with regards to waste disposal, and that residents can be surcharged $2,000 annually?
I am saying, yes, that the finding the finances for procurement of the services required, whether the services were going to be done by the NDC, buying a tractor and a trailer or whatever it is, ensuring that it has a landfill site somewhere and things like that. Monies must come from somewhere. And for the beautification of our villages in the Berbice area, across the country too, I am applying this. It must be either increased subventions, and each owner of a house or the occupier of that house, at least for that one house, a sum that was proposed to us by the residents that made the complaints to us would be about $200 per month, which is coming up about the $2,500 that I mentioned. So an increased subvention plus this kind of fee can help as regards buying the equipment, doing the landfills, or whatever is the other service to be provided, so that we can have a healthy, environmentally friendly garbage disposal and waste disposal methods in these areas.
Yes, I have another question, and this one is for Mr. Duncan. Mr. Duncan, I was interrupted at some point during the press conference while you were speaking. Sorry about that. But let me reference this Sputnik V vaccine. What is the AFC or the parliamentary opposition prepared to do to really press the government to provide the necessary information on the Sputnik V? And, you know, their vague question with regards to when the second dose is going to be arriving. There is no lockdown date as to when that is going to happen. And how will you go forward pressing the government? And have you been on the ground to get a feeling of citizens who would have received the first dose of the vaccine and are still awaiting the second dose, and the time is running out?
Can I add to Sherrod's statement, response, and say that really, isn't the onus also on the government itself to answer all the queries, all the questions? There should be no hesitancy in answering any question. A member of parliament, a citizen, a member of civil society, whoever has a question or a concern regarding this vaccine, all the pertinent information should be readily available if you want to deal with the issue of vaccine hesitancy. So if people were concerned as to whether the vaccines were safely transported, one would have thought immediately the government would have been bending over backwards to reassure you, put all the information out there. We know that a lot of the investigation with regards to the Sputnik situation, the purchase from a third-party individuals, all of that inquiry has been done by members of the media or members of the opposition or citizens in Guyana, and that is a telling situation. Sean, is your response, I see your hand still up. Do you want to ask another question in relation to what we're discussing, or it's another question?
It's another question on COVID, but with reference to school.
Okay, so let me ask you to hold that. I see Tandika Percival has her hand up. Tandika, please proceed. Tandika, are you there? Okay, Sean, we'll come back to you. I see Tandika still has her mic on mute. So we wait for her to come back. Go ahead, Sean.
Yeah, we would have heard the president, we would have heard the Minister of Education, and we would have heard from GTU. GTU would have outlined a menu of measures that they will require for the reopening of schools. What is the AFC's position? I don't know who will take the question.
Your mic, Kamraj. Take off the mute.
With the consultation process in the
Kamraj, sorry, Kamraj. Can you go closer to the device? We're not hearing you as clearly as we were in the beginning.
Just a minute. Yeah. You hearing me now?
Yes, just speak a little louder. Okay, thanks.
It's in keeping with the consultation process for every sector. Even we have a constitutional prescription to that effect. The government of Guyana ought to listen to what the teachers have to say. And the teachers' body is, of course, GTU. So the Alliance for Change is rather stunned by the fact that there was this feral blast from Satira Girl, Manik Chan, on the issue of what Coretta, as representative, indicated. It is appalling that we are getting that as the response from the minister. We feel that those are the things that will have to be done and all the matters addressed before school can be reopened. The GTU is a big stakeholder here because it represents in the vicinity of about 80 to 90% of the teachers of this country. So the Alliance for Change position is, please listen to GTU, notwithstanding that some of its leaders might be parliamentarians for the APNU AFC. They speak on behalf of 90% of the teachers of this country. And so there should not be feral blast. Rather, there should be accommodation and inclusion of those suggestions.
Thank you, Kamraj. Tandika, do you still have a question? Okay, can I ask, are there any other questions? Oh, I see a message in the chat. Okay, so Tandika says, good morning, I'm having audio issues. I wish to inquire about the AFC National Conference and any preparations for its holding. Kamraj, can you do that?
I'll take that.
Oh, David, thank you, David.
General Secretary will take that.
I thank you very much, Dan, because I actually messaged Kathy asking her that I would like to make a statement to the end of the meeting on our national conference. And so thank you for, well, allowing me to make the statement without Kathy. I don't have my video on, Kathy. Is that okay?
Okay.
Right. The AFC National Conference is scheduled every 2 years. It's scheduled to be held every 2 years. Our last national conference, as you would know, was in July, on June the 29th. 2019, we were scheduled to have our national conference this month, in July of 2021. Unfortunately, this has not happened, and there are several reasons which I'll go into shortly. But by way of background, so that you understand it, the challenges that we're facing, our constitution allows us, or initially allowed us 375 delegates. That has now risen to 405, with the inclusion of delegates for the Youth for Change and Women for Change. And these delegates are taken from both Guyana, in-country in Guyana, as well as the diaspora, which is Canada, USA, and UK. In addition to the 400 odd delegates, our national conference also allows observers. These are persons who, the delegates are the ones who are allowed to vote and to move motions, and they're representative of each region or each chapter. Observers obviously are members who are not delegates but have full access to the meeting, and they're only the only restriction is on the voting time. In the morning sessions, any member of the public and the press are usually invited to attend it. That's the administrative session, whereby we give a report on our stewardship for the year. And then, of course, in the afternoon session, we have a business meeting whereby motions and elections are happening. So we are trying to find a method during these COVID times to host more than 400 persons. We've already taken a decision that the next conference will be for delegates only, but that's 400 persons. We have looked at options of a hybrid system, whereby we would have some members being able to log on virtually. We looked at, say, like in region 8, and so they get all the members into one location. We've been looking at that. We've been looking at several other options, how we can actually host it. We're still doing that. We expect to hold a national NEC conference this month, next month, August. We're still in July. And when we should somehow or the other narrow down the options of holding the conference. What I can say categorically is that we will be having our national conference this year. There's no attempt from the leadership or any of the members to put it off any longer than is necessary. All our regions have been prepared and have been working towards the elections and our conference at this particular time. So the only difficulty, obviously, are the issues relating to COVID. So Tandika, I do hope that this is not a question of us trying to defer or any issue. That's how we can have a fully representative national conference for all our delegates within the COVID guidelines. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Any other questions from any of our media representatives on this press conference, or any follow-up? I will take that as a no then. Members of the panel, any other issue you might want to raise?
Nope, I'm good.
Okay. Cameron?
Kathy?
Yes.
Information is coming.
Okay, I think Devin, you were saying something?
Yeah, it's just to reemphasize that, look, currently with the flood situation happening in Guyana, we need as much help as possible. So please, members of the media and our viewing audience on social media, please ensure that whatever you can contribute, please ensure that you help. We've had many instances, like particularly in Kopani waterfront, whereby piranha bit a child. We have children who are at home alone and the parents are going out doing odd jobs just to get by. The children are left alone and they're fending for themselves. So we need as much help for those areas. Rockstone is hit hard as well because they depend a lot on tourism. And so that has halted. So There's no economic activity happening in those areas. And yet alone Araima, where Rousseau pulled out, they're having difficulties, and there are several homes because it's not just flood anymore. The foundation is getting weak. And we have images of houses literally falling apart because of that. So even with this $10 billion that the government brought to Parliament and we approved, it's not just giving hampers now. We have to focus on rebuilding streets, rebuilding homes, and ensuring those people's lives return to a level of normalcy.
Yes,
Thank you, Devin. Kamraj?
yeah. Kathy, I want to make an important point about the development that was just brought to my attention. And that is the
Kamraj,
lack of-
again, we're not hearing you as loud as we should.
Yeah, it has to do with a development that just came by some messages now that we're having the actual press conference. And it has to do with at this stage, attempts by the PPP to create parallel organizations so that they can fill the Petroleum Commission and also the Investment Committee of the Oil and Gas Fund, that is the Natural Resource Fund. As you know, we recently had the emergence of what is called an oil and gas organization headed by, I think, Maniram Prasad, well-known member of the PPP and also a government minister at one time for the PPP. I understand now from the information that we are getting, and I hope that the press is also going to investigate this, that the PPP is trying to set up committees in the various regions so that those regions could also then, by virtue of these bypasses or these parallel organizations, become members of the Petroleum Commission that are going to be pro-PPPites and also the Investment Committee of the Natural Resources Fund. So they're going to set up something in Essequibo, they're going to set up something in Region 9, and so on. And then they're going to say that these are the representative organizations to get into those things. So please be on your scrutinizing best, members of the press, so that this thing could be investigated. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kamraj. Thank you to members of the media and everyone for joining us. Please stay safe and take care.
Thank you very much.
Take care. God bless.